A very good evening to all of you. On behalf of ISMS, I, Dr. Reena Shah, deem it a privilege to be welcoming you all to this international webinar on the theme e-business, branding, monetizing, and security. Since the dawn of the internet and the proliferation of personal computers, commerce in general has changed dramatically, from marketing and advertising to B2B and B2C supply chains. Through the coalescence of ubiquitous online access and commerce, the world has witnessed the emergence of one of the most profitable and interconnected means of commercial transacting, the e-commerce. There has been a plethora of business opportunities that have emerged to transform e-commerce into a billion-dollar industry of the future. However, just as e-businesses unfold new business ideas and solutions, it also offers challenges such as converting website traffic into revenues and ensuring safe transactions on the internet to its customers. To educate and enlighten us on how branding, monetizing, and security are essential for e-businesses to survive and succeed in markets today, we are so privileged and delighted as well to have with us Dr. Srivatsa Sheshadri, Professor of Marketing from the University of Nebraska at Kearney, USA. To brief you about our resource person for today, Dr. Srivatsa Sheshadri secured his PhD from the University of Arkansas in 1993. The topic of his research being inter-level strategic linkages, competitive strategies, and purchasing strategies. Sir has completed his BE in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Mysore in 1977. Sir has a perfect blend of industry and academic work experience. His corporate experience includes Assistant Materials Engineer, Wintrol, a division of Wipro between 1977 and 79. Site Engineer, ECC, division of L&T between 1979 and 1982. Planning Engineer, Mukkad Limited between 1982 and 1984. Regional Sales Engineer, Mukkad Limited between 1984 and 1989. His academic journey started with the University of Nebraska as Professor of Marketing. Sir is also a visiting professor at China Pharmaceutical University, American University in Bulgaria, and the IULM Milan, Italy. Sir holds certifications which includes the Sloan C certificate in online teaching, and he is also a certified global business professional. Dr. Srivatsa has won several awards and honors for his contribution in research and academics. To name a few, the Becker Faculty Research Incentive Award in 2017, Distinguished Alumni Award, National Institute of Technology, Karnataka 2015, the UNK Department Teaching Award, University of Nebraska, Kearney, for 3 years between 2010 and 2012. Sir has presented various papers in international conferences and published several research papers in reputed journals. He is on the editorial board of various refereed journals like the Mountain Plains Journal of Business and Technology. Sir holds responsible positions in civic organizations. He is the Rotary District Foundation Committee Chair for Global Grants, Nebraska. Dr. Srivatsa offers consultancy service to NGOs, the Nebraska AIDS Project, the not-for-profit organization Buffalo County Community Health Partners, and the Kearney State Bank. For his noble work and contributions, he was conferred the Rotarian of the Year award in the year 2015. We are indeed fortunate to have Dr. Srivatsa Sheshadri with us as a resource person for today's session. May I now request our director, Dr. Srinidhi K. Parthasarthi, to formally welcome sir. Over to you, sir.
Good evening to all of you. It's an absolute pleasure to have Dr. Srivatsa Sheshadri with us today to be talking on something which is very, very important. Also at this point of time and from some time now, in the revolution beyond Porter, we had two forces joining in. One is the deregulation, globalization, deregulation, and digitalization. So the presence in the digital market is very, very important. For every industry to thrive today, we need to have our presence in the e-commerce segment. So to speak about it, we have a very learned speaker who has experienced the topic what he's going to speak today. Welcome you, sir, for this particular webinar. Dr. Srivatsa Seshadri is going to enlighten us in terms of e-commerce, branding, and monetizing. Welcome to you all who have taken time off on a Saturday evening to join this particular webinar and lend your ears to this webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Well, thank you for the invite. I am absolutely tickled to be able to spend some time with you all and be able to share some of the knowledge I have about this topic. I am really enjoying doing this because it is a way for me to give back to the country that has educated me from elementary school to engineering. So I really appreciate the opportunity that you have given me by inviting me to make this presentation. So I know we only have about an hour, and without much ado, I'll get started here if that's okay. I might need some help from your technical people if I am not able to uh, run my presentation here. So let me see my entire screen. This is what I need to do. Okay. Hello, can you all see my screen?
We can see you. We can see your screen.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I know you have a variety of folks in this presentation, and obviously, you have people with various background, have a various levels of knowledge about e-business, the internet, the World Wide Web, etc. So this is a quick overview of a pretty large topic and pretty broad and deep, in fact. And so I'm going to hit upon a few things that hopefully will provide you some understanding of the marketing aspect of the e-business to some degree. So a quick introduction to about myself. I live in Kearney, Nebraska, have been here since 1993. And Kearney, Nebraska, for those of you who may not know, is dead center of the continental United States. In fact, we are 1,700 miles from the East Coast and 1,700 miles from the West Coast. So, we can get to any place in the United States pretty equidistant, I bet. Originally from Bangalore, I graduated with an engineering degree from NITK, Surathkal. I have an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering and worked as an engineer for about 12 years, after which I got interested in marketing and moved to the United States to get a PhD in marketing from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. I graduated in 1993 with a PhD and have been teaching at the University of Nebraska at in Kearney, and I teach several business subdisciplines too. I teach. I'm a visiting professor in other countries. American University in Bulgaria. I taught for almost 9 years there. During summers, I go to China in summers to teach e-business. Actually, in South Korea, I have taught marketing and engineering subjects. In India, I sometimes teach in NITK summers only. And then, of course, I also have a summer opportunity to teach in Italy. This year has been a unique year that even though I was invited, I was not able to go and teach there. So I taught the class online from here. So, let's start talking about e-business here. E-business is a very wide subject, and some people often relate it to e-marketing. Some people relate it to e-commerce, but really, e-business is the broadest discipline under which e-marketing, e-promotions, e-tail, e-commerce, all of it fall. And this is a quick overview of the breadth of the subject of e-business. It includes operations within and operations outside company. And a true company would do everything online, including its operations, inventory management, and its relationship with external shareholders, such as customers, such as investors, such as creditors, etc., etc. So we don't find many true e-business in that respect. The majority of e-business that we think about and talk about are either in e-marketing or e-commerce or both. There are a few companies that do engage in e-operations. Obviously, as you can imagine, it gets easier for products that are what we call virtual products, such as publishing magazines. Newspapers can be a pure e-business compared to a retailer who wants to move from the brick and mortars to a completely e-business area. So, um, so there are 8 key elements of a good e-business environment. They have very low marginal cost. The cost of serving one additional customer is almost zero, which is what makes e-business so enticing to a lot of people. It is so much easier to not only acquire a customer, but it is also easy to have conversation with the customer. Right now, we are doing Google Meet. Doesn't cost any of us a single penny. And so these low marginal costs are great attraction to people who want to get into entrepreneurial business. It can be very interactive, so easy to send out emails, easy to have conversation, easy to have chat. As you all know, there are lots and lots of apps out there that allow us to do two-way communication. Most of us now use WhatsApp. Some of us use iPhone messaging and so on and so forth. And there are many other commercial. One of the absolute fantastic thing about e-business, both um, uh, it can be a curse too, is that it has profound networking effects. And the example I use is imagine a world where you are the only person in the whole wide world who has a smartphone. That phone has absolutely no value to you at all. However, if one other person has the smartphone, the value of your smartphone to you has gone up. Add a third person and its value has gone further up. Add 1,000 more people, and with 1,000 people having smartphones, it becomes extremely useful. And that is what we call as network effects. And in e-business, unlike in the ordinary business, network effects are profound, and their impact on the business is exponential in terms of profits and margins. Speed of transactions are very high, so this allows us to be more customer friendly, have our customers be with us for a long time. Loyalty of customers can increase because we immediately respond to their needs 24/7, 365 days a week if we have the right setup. In fact, many of us today, right now, because of the pandemic, have had to cancel our plans of travel. And most people probably have bought their airline tickets online. And several airlines have been quite um, quick to respond to their customers, giving them alternative dates to fly, giving them vouchers, and some of them giving back refunds, et cetera, et cetera. In the good old days, without the e-business environment, this would have taken ages before we could even have contacted our providers. Our search costs are low. We often don't think how much cost it is to us as customers. So we go to a store, we buy a product, and we only think in terms of, most of us think in terms of what we paid. But there are two kinds of costs. There is a intangible cost and a tangible cost to the customer. And oftentimes, our intangible costs are high enough that we refuse to buy a certain brand or a product. The example I like to use is if I have the affordability to buy a Ferrari, but I have to go all the way to Denver from here, or Los Angeles, or Kansas City, I am less hesitant to do that compared to if it were here. Now I can call them. Tesla is a better example, actually. I can call them and order, and they can bring it here to me. I can search for the kind of car I want. I don't have to go to a dealer and look at 20 different cars or 30 different cars and make a decision. So our search costs, which I call as intangible costs, are lower. And there are many other intangible costs that come down. And that makes it easier for customers, cheaper for customers in the long run. Customization, it allows us to customize products to our needs. And personalization, it allows the firms to personalize our experience. There's a difference between customization and personalization. Customization is the customer customizing the product to their needs. So I can go to the Tesla website and decide how my car should look, the color, the size, the seat covers, the kind of battery I want, etc. Personalization is the company personalizing my experience. So they might say, they might give me the option of delivering it to my house. They might give me the option of paying installment on a monthly basis, given my affordability, and so on and so forth. So there's a subtle difference between customization and personalization. E-business allows us to customize and personalize at a much lower cost than otherwise. And transactions are completed almost frictionless. The more friction there is to transaction, the higher the cost to a customer. So again, a e-business environment allows frictionless transactions. So those are some of the highlights of the advantages of conducting e-business. Please note that my discussion here is more in terms of an entrepreneur starting an e-business. I'm going to talk less about e-business as a customer experiences it. I am talking about how a entrepreneur might have to consider some issues when they launch or engage in a e-business kind of a enterprise. So our table of contents for this webinar, really, I want to focus on three things: domain name as brands. We have to invest our resources brand to protect the brand and make sure nobody else steals my brand or its image. And so I have to work hard to increase the recognition of my domain name. I will talk a few e-business models. There are about 15 or 16 business models that some of you may already know about, but I will condense them to 4 major e-business models. And then we will talk about some security issues that we need to be concerned about and how we can manage them. So for those of you who don't know, the World Wide Web is really different from the internet. We use them synonymously, but if you're into e-business, we need to understand the difference between the two. The internet is nothing more than a connection of computers or computer networks. World Wide Web is how we use those networks to enable sharing information, images, videos, sounds, animated. So what it allows us, the World Wide Web, that was invented by Tim Burns in Switzerland, it enhances the way we communicate with customers, with other businesses, our vendors, and share information with relevant parties. One of the nice things about e-business is it allows us to not only share information with different stakeholders, but it also allows us to share information on a need to know basis. So it really gives us a lot of control on how information is disseminated to the variety of stakeholders. So a metaphor would be, consider internet as the hardware, which really doesn't do much without having a good software, and consider World Wide Web as the software. So that's kind of the foundation I'm trying to lay for the rest of our discussion here. So first thing we need to know is to establish URLs, Universal Resource Locator. Many of you probably call it as the web address, such as http://www.iulm.com. IULM is the university in Italy that I have a visiting professorship there. So it allows us to share multimedia resources, web pages, animated GIFs, videos, images, still images, I mean, sound, etc. So it really takes advantage of most of our senses, other than smell and touch, visual and audio senses are used to communicate, and so it becomes very, very useful to communicate richness of information. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and there are many, many kinds of these protocols. I have given you example FTP for file transfer SMTP for simple mail transfer protocol, and there are many, many more, Telnet, etc., etc. What I would like to emphasize for entrepreneurs getting into e-business is to choose to do HTTPS protocol. The S after HTTP stands for secure, that transactions are encrypted. So it is a good idea to have HTTPS to make sure that your website and everything is designed and it only accepts HTTPS. So those that are HTTP only are not as secure. IULM.com or IndianAcademy.com, IndianAcademy.edu, these are domain names. And this is where I think you should put a lot of resource to protect it. The .com is called the extension. It is also known as the top-level domain, also known as the generic top-level domain, TLD, not to be confused with global TLD. Generally, that has a different connotation. So the IULM.com would be an important brand name, and that is the kind of brand name marketers should protect. It is easy in e-business to steal a brand name, and I will mention that very quickly here. So internet domains are priced assets. They are a marketers and a business's most valuable intangible asset. So when you buy a company that is well known, you often pay a goodwill, and that goodwill is for the power of the brand, the equity of the brand. So some brands are extremely powerful, and so when you buy the company, you have to pay extra money for that brand because the brand equity is high. Internet domains like that are very prized assets because of their individuality. No two companies can have the same brand, which is a huge plus. You may see as you walk around that you have all heard of Amazon. But Amazon, when we think about it as is the e-tailer, Amazon.in is a e-tailer in India. But there are a lot of other companies. In my own place, there is a company called Amazon Cleaners. So nothing stops somebody from using the word Amazon. However, in e-business, once you have a domain, nobody else can use it. So Amazon.com can never be used by anybody else. That's a huge plus. Can be used as a brand recognition, and they obviously will increase the knowledge perception of the consumers. So, generally speaking, we strongly recommend that one should always trademark their brand names. They should trademark their domain names in whichever country they are. And if it is a multinational company doing business in more than one country, they must trademark in multiple countries. Hiring a lawyer is a very good idea because different countries have different laws. In some countries, such as in South America, you can trademark a name even if you're not started the business. In the United States, you cannot trademark a name unless you have started the business. And if you have started a business and you actually use the brand name, only then can you trademark it. So different countries have different rules that we have to be aware of. Um, and again, hiring a lawyer to do this is a good idea. It's an investment worth spending money on. What are the types of top level domain names? The original generic domain names were .com, and unlike what most people think, .com doesn't stand for company. .com stands for commerce. So .com was primarily for not for profit businesses only. They created .net. These were for ISPs, the internet providers, and so uh, in the when this was first created by the nonprofit organization that started taking managing the internet and the World Wide Web. .org was for nonprofit organizations. .edu was for educational institutions, generally for universities, higher education, and .gov for the U.S. government, and .mil for the military. So these were the first 6 original TLDs. Now there are tons and tons of those. Here are some examples. All of these are top-level domain names. You can buy domain names on any one of these. So if you are a company such as helping other companies hire people, there is one here called staffing. So staffing.jobs would be a perfectly legal domain name. So, but what would we do for non-US governments or a business that wants to emphasize the country of origin, make, or produce? So if you consider wine and champagne, um, France is known for that. And so if somebody in France wants to, in their domain name, emphasize that their product is coming from France, they want to emphasize the country of origin, what do? So they created what is known as country code top level domains. So you could add the country code to the domain name if that is your interest, and to emphasize the country of origin or the make or the produce of the product. So some of the CCTLDs, of course, every country has one, so I won't go through the entire list. But here are some interesting ones. IN for India, IT for Italy, IL for Israel, China. People get confused. They think CH is China, CN is China, CH is actually Switzerland, and CI is Cote d'Ivoire. So you find that having a country TLD, now you can use a country TLD such as india.gov.in. So when you do that, then you know that you're going to a website that is for an entity in India. The server can, by the way, sit anywhere else. It can be in Timbuktu. So Um, this has nothing to do with the server is sitting. It is really where the entity is established. Amazon.in. So in fact, when I travel to India and I type in every browser by default, if you just type in Amazon, will go to Amazon.com, and or any other name for that matter. Browsers automatically think it is a .com. That is their default setting. And so if I type in Amazon.com in India, it automatically redirects me to Amazon.in because it recognizes that I am located in India. And unless I want to go to the US website, it will take me to the Indian website. And then it gives me an option to change that and go to any other website Amazon has in UK or France or Germany or United States. But this redirection is a very good idea. I'll come back to why this is a good idea in a minute. And then we have google.co.in. You will note that they dropped the M and added .in, which is quite common. Amazon has amazon.co.uk, and so that is the Amazon website in UK. You also have this in.yahoo.com. Generally speaking, a .com is a US entity. So what Yahoo is trying to convey to the consumers is while in.yahoo.com provides you information about India, India news, products in India, if you're searching for something in India, but the yahoo.com is really a US entity. And if you ever have problems with us and you want to take us to the court, our jurisdiction is in the United States. And so you will have to fight us in the United States. So there is some advantage to creating in.yahoo.com. The other thing, the advantage Yahoo has is it can create IN, IT, IL, CN, all internally. It doesn't have to buy a new domain name. Whereas Google, with its process, and Amazon, with its process, has to buy new domain names. Then you have one that now you have a different TLD, which is .news. And here, by default, it is going to India. And so you don't see that, but they have .news and they have redirected it to their Indian website. I guess the point I'm making here is as an entrepreneur, you want to kind of sit back and think about what your goals are before you buy your domain name. You have to consider your customers, you have to consider the browsers that they tend to use, you have to consider what kind of device they use. If they use mobile devices, do they use iPads, do they use Samsung, do they use the Google operating systems, and so on and so forth, Android. So all of these thoughts have to be given consideration before you decide what kind of domain name you want to buy. Any URL that doesn't have a CC, generally, not always, generally is US-based entity, which has legal implications. So buying domain names, it is just no different from creating a brand name. So domain names are very interesting. So when you buy a domain name, you buy it for 1 year, 3 year, 10-year validity. So it is kind of different. When I buy a car, it is mine forever. I can buy it, I can drive it, I can give it to somebody else to drive it. I can never drive it, I can keep it in my garage. I can do anything. I can repaint it. I can work on it. I can change the engine. I can do anything I want with my car. I bought it. It's mine. Domain ownerships are very, very different. In a way, they are leased to you. So you have to, after the end of the lease, you have to reactivate it. You have to actively renew it. Otherwise, somebody else can buy that. Who owns the domain name? Well, you own the domain name. So in other words, you have all the property rights in some ways. You can sell the domain name to somebody else, and you can buy domain names from somebody else, not necessarily a registrar. And domain names are the familiar name, just like brand names. So when you take about Deccan Herald, it's a brand name, so it immediately tells you it's a newspaper that's coming out of Bangalore. The Hindu, it tells you immediately that it's a newspaper coming out of Chennai, and now of course Hyderabad, Bangalore, etc., etc. So brand names are very useful because it immediately gives us an image of the company, what the product it sells, where it is located, its quality, etc., etc. It's a shortcut to a plethora of information about a business. Domain names are similar to that, so we want to keep it simple. But computers don't are not good at natural language, so every domain name is correlated to an internet protocol number. So it's like 152, 122. All of you have, every device you have has got an IP number, and the first 6 digits are probably the most critical ones, because that is what tells the domain name where to go. I won't get into the technical details, but when you type in deccanherald.com, for example, how does it know to go to the Deccan Herald's website? Well, so there is what is known as a domain name server. There are many around the world. And so it immediately sends, the ISP sends it to the domain name server. It's like a big telephone directory. It says, oh, this IP, you want Deccan Herald's website, the IP number is this, and then it tells the router to go to this IP number. So it's not a very complicated thing. For those of you who remember using old telephone directories, it is very simple. DNS is nothing more than a telephone directory, kind of. Okay. How do we obtain domain names? What are our best practices? Remember, domain names are brand names. We want to give it a lot of thought, and we want to protect it, and we want to make sure that nobody else has it. One of the things about domain names is one can buy multiple domain names, and we can actually um, we actually recommend buying multiple domain names. So Amazon has bought Amazon.com, Amazon.co.in, Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.in, and they have bought it because if they don't buy it, somebody else can buy those. When I buy Amazon.com, I only buy Amazon.com. I don't buy Amazon.net. So somebody else can buy Amazon.net. And so it is in the interest of the company to buy all these domain names that people might look for. Same thing with .org for nonprofits or lobbying companies. Same for .net. Nowadays, people seem to not follow the original rules, and registrars, the people who sell you the domain names, are not very particular in most countries. In China, they are. We should also buy, to protect our original brand name, we should also buy misspelled names. That is interesting. You never worry about that in non-e-business. So for example, when you get a chance, go to the website and type in google.com. It is a misspelling of Google. And Google has bought this domain name, so it automatically redirects you to google.com. People, when they type, make a lot of spelling errors. And there are companies that help you develop domain names, and they'll tell you, here are the common typographical mistakes people make when we type. Many of us, when we type A, we often by mistake type S because A and S are next to each other, and the other way around. So they'll tell us, you need to buy a domain name with those two letters, even the misspelled ones. When you get a chance, and I won't do it now, if you go to hostindia.net/domain.php, look up all the domains that are available for Indian Academy. You will be surprised that there are Indian Academy as the domain name, .org, other places that you can find. Um, and that can lead to confusability. So if I were to type in by mistake indianacademy.net instead of .edu or .org, it'll take me somewhere else. So by not buying these additional domain names, we are allowing our competitors to steal our reputation in a way. And domain names are not very expensive. So consider that as a marketing um, investment. The same rules apply as creating a good brand name. Keep them sweet and short. We don't want a domain name that is 128 characters. People don't have the time to uh, type in that much. But if there is no other way and your domain name is pretty long, um, you there is a website. I didn't type it in here. Some of you may know that it is called Bitly, bit.ly, that knows how to shorten domain names, and you're welcome to try that out when you get a chance. You want a domain name that is easy to pronounce, and you can go to a website, bustaname.com. Not only will it show you what domain names are available, but it also does permutation combinations of spelling errors. So you can look at if you those and say if you want to buy them. Most of them are not too expensive, so it is worth buying for 10 years. Uh, Avoid confusability with other names. So don't have a domain name that is close to somebody else's name unless your intent is to confuse the customers of your competing domain name. Generally not a good idea. You might get into legal problems. So you can go to another website called domains.com. And again, it'll give you all the different domain names that are close to the name that you are interested in. There is another website. Also, you might be interested in a domain name and you really want to have that domain name that somebody else wants to buy. Let's say you want a domain name, indianacademy.co.in. I'm just making this up. And you find out that you want to know who owns it. You don't mind paying that person and taking over the domain name. So what you want to do is go to a website called whois.com, .net, .org, and I will see if I can show you how that works. Very interesting. Um, and the reason I want to do that is to show you how it works. So let us go to whois.com, and here I'm going to type in I'm just going to type in academy and say who is. And what it tells me is academy is already bought. It is valid till expires on 2028. So somebody has bought it for 10 years in 2018. As you see, it's a 10-year maximum validity. And you can come down and see who owns it, their address, their telephone number, and you can call them and start negotiating a price. So the who is a one of the nice things about domain names are they are, for most part, there are exceptions. Most part, they are very, very transparent. So you can call these numbers and say, hey, I'm interested in buying this. Who should I contact? Who is the person to talk to? And then they will start helping you. And this company will help you negotiate a price. And you can buy this from that person if that is not an active business or an active enterprise. So very quite interesting way. You can try in whois.net, whois.org, and you will find all the other kinds of domain names that are close to the one that you're interested in. So you want to choose a good registrar. There are lots and lots of registrars. These are the people who have been authorized to sell domain names and keep a record of domain names. Their job is to sell a domain name and then put that in the telephone directory I talked to you about called the DNS. And so the domain name servers have to have the IP number and the name. So once you buy a domain name, it is temporarily housed in the registrar's website. So the IP address will be of the registrar. But once you have set up your own, then you go and change the IP address, and then it updates the DNS immediately. A good registrar, I think, in India is GoDaddy. There are about 20 or 25 good ones that I have noted there. But this is probably the one that is the cheapest and has extremely good customer service. Again, you may have your own choices. Protect your domain. This is one of, and we'll talk about it in security. It is very easy for somebody to go into your whois.com and go change the password and other stuff. So hackers can do that. So use strong password, because once a hacker goes into the whois and changes your registrars and hacks into your registrar's database and changes the password, they can now take over the domain name. They can change everything, and you really have very, very little protection, even legally. So it is a good idea to have very strong email passwords, so the domain name sends you the messages as required, and change it frequently. Always a good idea to set up two-factor authentication. Like I said, domain names are brands, and you have to do everything you can to protect it. And to the extent possible, use the HTTPS setting for encryption. And frequently check whois, because then you know when was the last update made. And if it was not you, then you know it has been done by some hacker, and you need to make sure that you immediately change the password and take care of it. So it is a good practice to check the whois database to see when was the last revision made to the domain name's data information. And trademark your domain name. In countries where it is allowed to be done, trademark it ASAP. Many companies actually trademark it even before they get the domain name. Let's talk about a few e-business models, how we monetize them. Business model is really about how we make money. So a retail store, its business model is to buy cheap and sell at a higher price and make some money in the process. So every Kirana store that you see, every restaurant you see, basically they make food at 10 rupees and they sell it at 15, and the difference between that is their gross margin. And so that is how, so a business model is nothing more than an idea of how an idea is going to be monetized. So retail. What are other business models? We will focus on the e-business models here. There are lots and lots of business models, but this particular one, I'll focus on 4 business models in the e-business. The first one is portals. We have all gone to portals. They're Google, Yahoo, MSN, Bing, all of these. You don't pay a single cent at all, right? So how do they make money? So a Google portal, they make money through ads. So you have ads, people buy ads through impressions. So as long as the impressions, which I mean, it shows up when you go into Google or Yahoo and it shows up ads. And newspapers, you have seen that too. So newspapers are a different kind of portal, which I'll talk about a little in a minute. But these are catch-all. This Google, Yahoo, MSN. You want any information, you go in, you find, and you can even find telephone number of somebody. But they make money by impressions or click-throughs. They get more money by click-throughs. If somebody clicks on an ad, Google gets a percentage of that money. The second kind is what we call personalized portals. So Follow My Health is a personalized portal that I have, and this is a fee-based portal. I don't pay for it. My clinic pays for it. So my doctor's group pays for it, and they give me the option to go to this portal and look up all my health related information. What are the medications I take? When is it due to be renewed? When am I supposed to visit my doctor for a physical? What was my last blood pressure and pulse and all that stuff. So all my health information in one place available that I can access. I cannot change it, but I can access read only, for which the clinic is paying. Why would a clinic pay to do this? Why would a doctor want to spend money for my benefit? Well, otherwise, I call them each time and I want to know some information. So I'm filling out a survey for my employer. And every time I buy my health insurance through my employer, I need to fill out a survey. They want to know what my blood pressure is. They want to know what was pulse was. They want to know when did I last have my colonoscopy. I don't have to call the doctor every time and find out. I can go to the portal. So it saves them a lot of time. Some of you may already have used these kinds of portals for free. So when you buy product from somebody and they send, we have sent it through DHL, you get a tracking number and you go to DHL and you can track it, the product as it comes to you. So you don't have to call DHL and ask them, where is my product that I had ordered, right? So it saves them a to create these personalized portals. Then we have what is called as vortals. They are vertical portals. They are vertical because they focus on one subject matter. ZDNet focuses on all things information technology. CONAL focuses on all things about conferences. Where are the different conferences going around the world in different subject areas? Deccan Herald is a vertical portal, as is the Hindu, for news. That's all they carry. All of them are free to you and me, and they make money through ad revenue. So their business model is having a third party pay for them for housing their products in their website. E-business model 2 is an affiliate program. So where websites, this is not an ad as much as uh, recommending people who visit your website to buy products through other people. So you're not really advertising. You are getting a commission based on sales. So I have a website. This is actually a University of Nebraska Kearney website. Every 5 or 6 years, I activate it. So I will activate this in January of 2021. This is a website for a conference that we hold here in my university every 5 or 7 years. And so it is a website where people automatically submit papers. It goes out to reviewers. Blind reviews come back. The reviews go back to the authors, and they can, of course, fix it. Like all you academics know, that is how the process works. However, it is free. We have registration fee, and the registration fee pays for some of this, but it's not enough. So what we have is a variety of other affiliated advertisement things. So we have Amazon, we have a lot of publishers like Pearson and um, Hewlett, and these publishers have their books available. So somebody can click on that and buy a book or adopt a book for the class, and we get a commission. And the first time we did this was 2012. Then we did a conference in 2018, 15, and now we will be doing a 2000. No, we did first time in 2007, then in 2012, and then in 2016, and now we will be doing it in 2021. And believe it or not, just through this affiliate program, we have earned over $8,800. Not bad, given that our expenses are not very high. So that's a good business model. The So this really works best when the audience that comes to this website is seeking products that are complementary. So we need to look for affiliations for products and services that target the same customers. So for a conference, it is academics who come to conferences. So the best products to affiliate with, in addition to Amazon, which is everything, is publishers, especially low-cost new publishers. The third model is subscription model. So you have to pay to view, and they deliver regular products. So Business India is a good example. If I want to subscribe to Business India, I pay for a year subscription and I have access to their digital magazine to read. So is Wall Street Journal, so is the Hindu, and so on and so forth. We now also have a subscription service also in India where you can just go to the website and say, I want you to deliver to me, you know, garbage bags, 50 garbage bags once a month, every month, and it automatically comes to you. So nowadays you can even subscribe to tangible products. So, so obviously the, so this is, you might ask, how is this different from just going to a website and placing an order? There's a huge difference. So in from a business entrepreneurship perspective, so when I subscribe to you, I have to give you my credit card or bank card, debit card, or my bank account number, and I pay. So without ever having to, for you to have to call them or them to have to call you to remind, they automatically send the product and take the money from your account, right? So for those of you who are paying utility bills through your bank, that is exactly what is happening. And so it saves a lot of time and energy on the entrepreneur. But in many, many cases, they get the cash before the product is delivered. Think about Business India. You pay the cash upfront and then you get the product for the rest of the year. So one of the two big reasons small businesses fail, and this is a fact all over the world, they have done research in Africa, in India, in United States, in developed countries, in less developed countries. The two main reasons companies fail, young companies, is not managing cash flow and not investing in marketing. These are the two huge reasons entrepreneurs flow. There are entrepreneurs who are saying, I am selling my products and people are buying left, right, and center, and I am still not making money. Well, that is because you're not managing cash flow. And that is an important part. So what this does is helps cash flow, manage cash flow, get the cash before providing the product. The last product model I want to talk about is what is huge today, and you have all embraced this model as consumers, and that is called freemium. That is giving you stuff for free. So there are two kinds. Let us look at what we are using right now, Google Meet. All of you have signed up for it. Many companies here have signed up for it. Many businesses have, because it is free. Of course it is free. Fantastic. Gmail is free. LinkedIn is free. Facebook is free. You know, so these are called freemiums, and you wonder, how are they going to make money? Well, there are a couple other things that is behind the scene here. So think about Google Meet. Google Meet is a product where you and I are using it for free, but behind the scene there is a software, that a code that is running effectively. So if there is a large company that wants to have these kinds of meetings, they can license the code and use it for their internal communications. So that is one way to do that. Gmail, you might start seeing ads there. Actually, you have started seeing some ads there, so it's slowly becoming ad. But most importantly of all, what they are gathering from you, so it's not really free. They're gathering your personal information that they can sell to third parties. So my email address, I cannot make it private in Gmail. So they know my email, and I get a ton of spam on my Google email account. So now I automatically put it in my junk and I don't read it. But Gmail is able to sell my email for pennies, and that is another way they make money. You also have something called pay for premium service. So Zoom, which is the one that we use, Zoom is free for anybody to use, very, very similar to your Google Meet. But it is free for 45 minutes only. So if you have a meeting for 45 minutes or less. Zoom is totally free. If you want to buy more time, you have to pay for it. And if you want to pay a higher price, you have to pay a higher price. So that is known as pay for premium service. You get the basic stuff for free, but anything else you want, you extra. PDF, Adobe, you can download it. It allows you to read documents, but it won't allow you to edit the documents. C Cleaner is a product that I buy. It cleans my computer. I have to do it manually because I got the free version. But if I pay $19.99 a year, then it will automatically, in the middle of the night, clean my computer and take out all the garbage and make it go run faster. So that is another business model. It appears free, but it is technically not free, but it is called freemium because you get to use part of it free. We pay either through our intangible private information or we pay for a better service later on. So what are success factors? Supply at a low cost, high efficiency on time, provide great value proposition, convenience, availability, 24/7 service, access to information, transparency, and a lot of other things. And a good model has to sustain, scale, and flexible. So here are some things. Think about these. You all call for food, Uber Eats, and it comes to you. So what exactly is the value proposition of Uber Eats? Why are we paying money for Uber Eats when we can go and buy our own, go to a restaurant and pick it up? Same thing. We have now new banks that have absolutely no branches, no brick and mortar. Everything is online. What is the value proposition they give us, and why are they successful? The new economics of e-business, quickly to recap: zero marginal cost, low cost of acquiring a new customer, and zero cost of communicating with additional customers. We have eliminated the middlemen. It's called disintermediation, which saves money. Amazon India has eliminated many retailers and suppliers, which is what Geo is hoping to help small Kirana stores. So they're going the other direction to Amazon to beat Amazon at its own game. Ebooks have eliminated need for printing presses. Digital music has eliminated music agents, and streaming services has eliminated movie distributors. The new economics is disseminating information is free. When was the last time you got a paper copy of a product manual when you bought a new computer? Selling information has high profit. Selling your private information is extremely profitable. And network effects are very profound. It is fast. You can create network effects very quickly, and it affects exponentially. And more people connected in the internet, which is what is happening, whether it is through your smartphone, through your computers, through your laptops, through your smart TVs. Network effects are really, really growing exponentially. And we save time. Remember, as consumers, we have intangible costs. So as an entrepreneur, if you can reduce intangible costs, that is very, very good. Decision costs are very low for consumers. I can compare prices. I'm looking at TVs. I can compare 3 or 4 TVs, make my decision faster. Decision making is one of the greatest costs for consumers. It's intangible. You can't put money value to it, but you know in your heart it's such a strenuous mental effort. So the new economics of e-business has empowered customers, and so we want to empower customers as much as we can so they are loyal customers to us. Last thing, security. Here is a quick review of all the different things that are happening: hacking, cyber theft, malware, just goes on and on and on. Every day there is a new thing that is coming up. Let me talk about some of the things that an entrepreneur should take care of in their business. We are not talking about customers, we are talking about their own business. Denial of service. That is a major way for a bad actor to prevent customers from coming to your website. There are businesses that help you protect yourself from denial of service. Obviously costs money. Scans, there are products out there that constantly scan who is visiting your website and collecting their IP addresses. You have sniffer programs that sniff the type of computers and the type of servers that you are using, the IP addresses, etc. They steal that and then sell that in the dark web. Spoofing and phishing is sending emails to your employees as if it is coming from somebody they know, and they make them click some website or web link which takes them to the wrong place, and they steal the password, they steal sensitive data. So you want to tell your customers not to fall for it, or your employees, I mean. Trojan horse is, again, they send a link you saying this will protect your computer from viruses. Click here, and your employee clicks there, and it installs a malware which then gets distributed throughout your company. So as a young entrepreneur, you want to protect yourself against this. There are companies that will help you do that. Backdoor entry, findings. I call this actually social engineering. You can call somebody, hey, I'm calling from this government agency. I'm looking for the phone number of your boss. We have a major issue here. And you give them, well, I don't have the phone number. Here is the email address. And, so they slowly get into your company in order to steal information. Applets are kind of putting small software in your business, keystroke logging, and other software to see capture password. Password crackers. To your employees, believe it or not, these are the top 6 passwords used worldwide. Employees are using passwords that are just terrible, easy for people to hack. So you want to ask employees to use long passwords. You want to ask them to use uppercase and lowercase. They must use a number, and they must use special characteristic. So generally speaking, my own personal rule of thumb, even though they say 8 characters, I generally tend to go 12 to 16 characters when I type in my password. So you want to increase the length of the password, and you want to tell your employees to have a mix of upper, lower, and all that. Longer the password, harder to crack. And social engineering, becoming your friend, talking to you nicely, acting as a customer. Hey, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, tell me about that. And slowly you develop a relationship, and pretty soon you're revealing information of your company. So make your employees understand those are things that they have to be careful about. Providing them training. Dumpster driving. This is so awful. People throw away documents in the garbage without shredding them. And so it is not hard for people to go pick up and see any information that is available that they can use. In the good old days, some of you may remember, I sure do. When I was in high school, I would go into dumpster in my school to see the stenciled test papers to see if I can figure out what are the questions coming in the test. Today, people jump in to find out your credit card numbers because people throw away credit card statements without shredding them. So if you're going to run a business, buy a few shredders and ask your employees to shred every paper that they're going to be throwing away. So it is worthwhile to invest in all of these. Always have encryption, which is adding the S to HTTP. Have firewalls. When I go to SBI to check my account, I love the SBI website for a reason. When I log in, it provides me with a virtual keyboard where the letters are all scrambled. Yes, it takes me time to find my letters for the password, but there is just no way somebody with a key logging software can steal it. So I don't know how many other banks are using it in India, but Bank of India uses it. And I really think that is such a great idea to prevent people from stealing. Even if somebody is looking over my shoulder, they won't be able to know what my password is, even if they looked at the positions that I'm clicking. Ask for dual authorization. dual authentication. All your employees should have that. They should have a smartphone and have a dual authentication. Protects the company from hackers. Buy Symantec to protect virus defense. This is a company that constantly looks at new viruses and updates your computer. Obviously, some of you know this, but don't buy the cheap ones. Don't buy the ones that say, hey, free, buy software. Most often, they are Trojan horses. Buy a product for denial of service. There are companies that actually will keep an eye on your traffic, and if they have any suspicious traffic, they'll cut it off. And of course, monitor emails. Make sure your employees have learned not to click on links that come unless they're absolutely positively sure that it is a legitimate link. So with that, that was a really quick short. I'm sorry I did take a little longer, 1 hour. And if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them now. I am going to hang up here and go back to our site here. Let me see where I am. There we go. Are you still seeing my PowerPoint?
No,
All
sir.
right. Anybody else have any questions? I know it took longer than we expected. Sorry about that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. We have a few questions if you would be kind enough to take them.
Yeah. Am I seeing, can you see me? Or are you seeing my screen? Okay, now I think you should be able to. Okay.
We just have a few questions, sir.
All right, go ahead.
There's one question. May I know how a catchy domain name brings profit into business? What is the best DNS server to use? And what are some of the e-commerce technologies poised to revolutionize e-commerce?
You'll have to repeat the second part of the question. I got stuck with the DNS question.
The last part is, what are some of the e-commerce technologies poised to revolutionize e-commerce?
Okay. Okay, DNS, you do not get to choose your DNS. DNS servers are servers that are chosen by your internet service provider, the ISP. So if you, for example, choose BSNL as your ISP, BSNL decides where the DNS will be. Just as an aside, there are 13 DNSs that are core, that nobody has direct access to them. And then there are DNSs all over the world. So they may be using some DNS that will be hard to know for us. So you can only choose your ISP. You cannot choose your DSN. So you have to choose a good ISP who provides 99.999% service. That is the benchmark. It is called 5 nines, 99.999. So the parlance is find an ISP that provides you a 5.9 quality. The second part, what are the new e-commerce technologies coming up, etc. I am excited about a HTML5. You may have heard about HTML5. They're making some good progress. And there are sites that allow you to do 3D. So there used to be a language, not many browsers have adopted it. It has been around for a while, called VRML language. It is called Virtual Reality Markup Language. So VRML allows me to show a product on a website, and people, consumers, can actually rotate the product, look at the label, read the product, get a 3D feel for the product. It is so intensive computer-wise, I think that is one of the reasons it hasn't been adopted, because it takes a lot of resources from the consumer's computer. But there is new technology. There is one called Diply, Diply, which allows people to chat online immediately, even in the middle of the night. And many of you have seen that, I think, when you go on to a good website and it'll say, "Hey, my name is yada yada yada. May I help you?" And that is completely um, automated. The biggest thing that is coming up is artificial intelligence. So they're working on artificial intelligence to answer questions that are frequent. And so,
Okay, so there's one more question from Dr. Chaya Bagricha. What, according to you, would be the future of education from educator's perspective?
well, this pandemic has already taught us that we can teach online quite well. Most of us are teaching classes online now, and at least in the area of business, um, there's definitely the online education has improved. We now have synchronous classes face to face using either Google Meet or Zoom, or I know Microsoft has got Team. So there are several products that you can now use for a face-to-face conference. You can also create, just like in the classroom, you can have discussions by creating small groups of 4 or 5, and you tell them to discuss, come with a solution to a case, for example, and share it to the class. You can do that in many of them. I don't know. I use only Zoom. So I can have breakout rooms and assign students in breakout rooms, and then they're able to discuss and then bring them all into one and then discuss that. I'm able to now, and many of us are able to now do simulation games online. I am going to be teaching marketing research this fall, and I may have to teach it online. And that is going to be a bit of a challenge, but it is doable. In the past, you went in the classroom, every computer had SPSS or SAS or R, and then you could actually walk them through teaching the software. So now we are teaching that online. So almost everything you can do in a class you can. Now the exceptions, I think, are if you have a lab, if you're teaching a science class of biology and you need to do a dissection, uh, I'm not sure how that is going to happen. I know we have a college here on nursing, and they are working on virtual dissection. So so that is one thing. The other thing about what happens is, what I like about this ability of e-com, e-business technologies in the education is I can record my lectures, and if a student is not present, they can view that later and talk to me if they want to, if they don't understand something. So exams, that is probably still the hardest part. How do you ensure that exams are um, the student taking the exam and their scores are valid and authenticated? So that is an issue. We use a program for that called Respondus, which does a browser lockdown and has a camera, so it records the student as they're taking the test, and and they have to show their ID. So those are some things. I'm sure there's always a students will always find ways around that.
Thank you, sir. We see a lot of questions in the chat box, but because of time scarcity, we'll take just one more question from Geeta ma'am. And she asked, may I know why we are not allowed to use directly co.in to access our mail when we land in USA?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The question is, why are we not allowed to use directly co.in to access our mail when we land in USA?
Co.in when you land in the USA. That may be because of the ISP in the United States. I am able to access from here any code.in. I can go to amazon.co.uk. I can go to, I just did that this morning, so I have no problem. So it really probably depends on the ISP. Are you using a phone from India with a roaming? In
Uh,
which case, that might, it really depends on where you are in the US and who the ISP in the US is. So, oh,
she's
she's, go
responding.
ahead. What does she mean? She had to take permission when she landed in the US.
Ma'am, could you type? Geeta, ma'am. To access the mail, sir.
Yeah, I understand. To access the mail, I think the problem is with the ISP, not with the United States in general. I have friends, many of my friends who come to the US, they are able to access pretty much anything they want. So I'm really not sure I can answer that question.
Okay. So that would be the last question, sir. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate this opportunity to
Yes, sir.
s- spend some time with you.
Yeah, I would take this opportunity to render the formal vote of thanks. First and
You bet.
foremost, I'd like to express my deep sense of gratitude on behalf of the entire ISMS team, sir, to Dr. Srivatsava Sheshadri for a very insightful, simplified version of the e-business. So thank you so much, sir, for your time, for sharing your knowledge with us. Thanks a lot. I render my heartfelt gratitude to our chairman, Dr. T. Somshekhar, whose able guidance and leadership has been instrumental in the growth of Indian Academic Group of Institutions. Our director, Dr. Srinidhi K. Parthasarthi, for his unstinted support. The entire team of ISMS, our technical head, Mr. Chandan, and we are extremely thankful to each and every one of the participants who registered for the event. And we hope that the session was fruitful and enriching experience for all of you. We would be sharing the feedback link tomorrow. All the participants, we will mail the feedback link to your email IDs. Once again, sir, thanks a lot. Thank you so much for your time, and we are so grateful and indebted. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you for my invite.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Yes.
We'll keep in touch. Bye.
Surely, sir. Surely. Thank you so